the experiences with that label and during that time definitely influenced a lot of the songs that ended up on Big Talk.
Yeah.
Buckle Under Pressure was a direct response to an email that I'd gotten from the head of A&R saying that they weren't going to give me the rights back to the record, which was something that he had actually promised me in a meeting that I had with them a few weeks before. And so I wrote that song entirely in my head, which is not something that I usually do. I usually have to have a guitar and all of that. I was on a 12-hour drive from Texas back to Nashville right after having gotten that email and wrote the whole thing in my head. And at one point, when I'd stopped for gas, I got my phone out and sang a little voice memo of it, and then got home and tried to figure out how to play what was, in my head.
Welcome, fellow lushes. Come on in, pull up a bar stool, and enjoy some cocktails with Dimples and the Beard.
Yay! The Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl.
It's amazing.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
I got that wrong again. It's just the Kansas City Taylor Swifts won the Super Bowl. That's what they should do to be politically correct.
We all
now.
knew they were going to win. It was scripted.
They should scrub the Chiefs, since that's a racist one, and just call themselves the Swifts. The Kansas City Swifts.
There you go.
That's not a bad name for football too. It's the Swifts. They're Swifty.
They were Swift.
They were Swift. I wouldn't know. I didn't watch a second of it. I heard they won in overtime.
They did win in overtime.
Wow. So if whoever scripted that was like, we're gonna really.
Well, I think they scripted. It's not working. We gotta. They're not following the script, so we got to get into overtime.
Well, I saw the score at halftime and I went, "Ooh, that looks like a pretty boring game."
That was a defensive battle, that's for sure.
And then I saw the final score and went, "Oh, shit happens."
Yeah. Well, what you knew that there wasn't a big enough lead.
Who won the commercials?
I forget.
Wow. Okay.
That's how great they were. They stood out.
Wow. All right. You couldn't have made something up.
There were a lot of them that were stood out that did not that I wanted to block from my brain.
You know who won the commercials?
But the biggest commercial one that I liked, was the Skittles.
Oh, but do you know who won the commercials?
Oh, I don't know.
RFK Jr., baby.
Because you saw it?
I didn't see it.
Oh,
somebody told me that there was a commercial.
Who told ya?
I don't remember.
Oh, God.
So I was pretty excited about that.
It was a very peppy commercial.
Peppy!
With a lot of colors and stuff. So
nice.
It made you stop and go, there you go.
Good job.
It's like he recreated his uncles from the 60s. What I was told.
Nice.
I didn't see it in the 60s, so I don't know.
Barely. You barely missed it.
I mean, it would have been on, but I was.
Weren't you born the year Kennedy died?
Yeah. So I didn't really see his election campaign.
But you were alive. You were alive when Kennedy got assassinated.
67.
I thought it was 66.
No. Well, I know when I was born. He was. Sure.
I think he was shot in 66. November 13th, 1966.
November. Yeah. Was it 66?
I think so, because that's
69.
No, it's not 69. It's either
it's like this. Was it 68, 67?
It's either 66 or 67.
Somebody
67. In the comments below. Fernando's not here tonight. Oh, yes, bad news. I don't know if people have watched that Belize episode where Fernando was talking a little shit about our cankles, and we mentioned firing Fernando when we got home. Well, that happened.
Boom.
Fernando's out.
Gone, Fernando. You can't. I mean, it doesn't matter that it were facts. You still can't.
We're looking for a new producer. So if you're interested in producing Cocktails with Dimples and the Beard, send an email to CWDATB
and a resume
and a headshot.
The resume
at gmail.com. We are looking for a producer. This is legit. The salary is
get it out. Like open the tavern. Let's go.
The salary is $0.
Absolutely.
But the benefit.
The salary is experience, life experience with
open the tavern.
We're ready to to have a few cocktails now.
Welcome back
Where does
to another episode of Cocktails with Dimples in the Beard. Texas edition,
country style?
country edition. Is it bluesy rock edition?
It's country. It's. I think it's good old country.
Yeah, it's well, I don't like genres.
It's a little.
I don't like genres.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of everything. There's country, there's blues, there's rock.
He's got it all.
He covers every base. It's
It's
eclectic. It's
Jarrod Dickenson is coming on tonight.
It's unique.
Yes, storyteller. We'll get into it.
It's
his process.
It's flowers for your ears.
But it's through the course of his albums, changed up a little bit, which is nice. Still stays home to the country flair. Where he gets his influence, we'll find out.
Country road.
2 great albums right there.
Take me home.
Check them out. Zoom in. Anyways, we'll talk about it. Can't wait to have him on.
Virginia.
Not him. Nope, not his song. Not his song.
Take me home.
Sorry. You know that, right?
Country road. What?
We keep going. I'm just making sure.
No, I like that. I like that. That's I like that.
There he is.
And I think it's John Denver. Tell me in the comments if it's not. All right.
So before we get on with country edition, country fried steak edition, I do love a good country fried.
It's a little bit of chicken
gravy.
Okay. Anyway,
he's gonna sing. Are you gonna sing every country singer?
I don't.
Anyways.
I only know about 2.
That's true. We're not known for our country influences.
But before we do go any further, and before you say what you got to say, R.I.P. Toby Keith.
More. It's a country edition. So
he was a wonderful country musician. Sadly lost to another one who got lost to cancer. Fucking cancer.
And he makes great barbecue sauce. R.I.P. buddy.
Not better than Sweet Baby Ray. So anyway.
And all right. So until then, give us a like, subscribe, share with your friends and enemies. And leave a comment. When we ask to leave a comment about something we say, do it.
Yeah,
Come on, do it.
When did Kennedy get shot? And there was one other one I remember. So
was that John Denver?
Was that John Denver?
There you go. Give a like. Here we go. Do not leave a handsome man waiting.
Does he still have that mustache?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
He's got longer hair now.
Mustachioed man.
He's got the beard and the mustache.
All right.
See in a minute. Here he comes.
Oh, fuck. A guy with a better beard than me.
He does have a better beard than you. I might have a new co-host by the end of this episode. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, without further ado, Jarrod Dickenson.
The real beard is about to come on.
Stop it. Stop it.
Someone talking about me.
Well, we just got done saying he's like, oh man.
I thought I was gonna have to compete with a better beard. Was a little worried.
No, I think you got it handled. Don't worry about that. Nice t-shirt over there, by the way. That's an oldie.
That's what we found out. It's an oldie but a goodie.
2013.
There you go. God, was it that long ago? Good Lord.
That it still floors me that it was that long ago. So
yeah, right.
So anyways, let's introduce Jarrod Dickenson, country singer, songwriter, producer, terrific storyteller and story writer. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here.
We'll get into I had the pleasure about a week ago to went and saw Jarrod again. And you reminded me it was 10 years in between the shows, which is crazy.
Oof. Yeah. Time flies when you're getting old.
I'll have you know, by the way, I wasn't at the show because somebody didn't bother to invite me. So I don't know what happened there, but I didn't get my invite.
So you're saying you've been holding it against him for the last decade? What you're telling me?
I was there a decade ago, so okay. I was at that show.
The last Friday, but the minute I saw it, I did invite you. So anyways, again, thank you. Yes, this t-shirt's from 2013. I've had it. And hopefully, did you get your new t-shirts in?
We they were sitting on our doorstep when we got home after tour. Thanks for that, UPS. You're the best.
Perfect timing.
Perfect
time. I hope you had the CDs at least to take with you. That's probably more important.
We had CDs. We had vinyl. We had that, but we did not have t-shirts because Nashville got an
right.
inch or something of snow. And if they get any snow, heaven
Shut her
forbid
on down.
anyone
Shut
get
her-
out of the car.
So you're
Yeah.
living in Nashville now, and
Living in Originally, Waco, Texas, probably a town no one's ever heard of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, there's stuff in Waco other than that place that they blew up or whatever.
yeah. Which wasn't actually in Waco. That was Mount Carmel, which
Oh,
Wacoans don't even know where that is. But apparently we were the closest city, so we got all the credit.
Oh, nice. Infamous.
So yeah.
perfect for you. All right, born and raised there. Where did you once you were growing up? Let's get into your influences of stars or country songs, or maybe even not even country artists. But who was probably your biggest influence?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really classify what I do as country necessarily, although I do get that tag from time to time. I grew up with an old hippie as a dad, so I grew up on the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, Bob Dylan, Jim Croce, Tom Petty. That was my
Nice.
musical upbringing, and still what I listen to all the time, among others, obviously. Yeah, so that was kind of what I grew up with. I wasn't necessarily a musician until I was 18. I was a good Texan. I was out playing sports when I was a kid. First baseball, then golf. I was
Oh, wow.
I was going to be the next Nolan Ryan, and then that didn't happen. And then I was going to play on the PGA Tour, and then I picked up guitar at 18, and it just ruined everything.
So do you
Wow,
golf
late bloomer.
do you golf at all anymore?
I do, yeah. Whenever I can.
What's the handicap?
I'm a 3.5 at the minute, which is higher than I would like to be, but I don't get to play all that often. So
For somebody who's not playing all that often, that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
I still love it. Still get out when I can. The dream is to be able to take the clubs on the road, but
Yeah, right.
hadn't gotten there quite yet.
Yeah.
Don't have much time between your gigs to be able to go play.
No, especially when you're driving yourself. It's different for people who are on bus tours, and they're traveling overnight and they wake up wherever they're going to be that day, and
Right.
oh, we'll fit in a quick round this morning. That ain't how it works for the rest of us.
Yeah, you're on the road just hoping nothing bad happens between here and the next city.
Absolutely it.
So with we'll get back to the influences, but being over in Ireland and stuff so much in the UK, have you golfed over there?
I have a few times. Yeah, I've got one fan in Glasgow who's a member at Glen Eagles in Scotland, and I've gotten to play there a couple of times with him, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And kind of mid-pandemic when we couldn't play gigs yet, but we traveled over to see my wife's family one time in Northern Ireland. I said, well, if I can't bring guitars, I'm bringing golf clubs, and got to play a good few courses on that trip. So yeah, it's happened a few times.
Okay,
that's cool.
Are the courses different over there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously most of them are kind of a traditional link style course, which is different than most of us get here in the States. But I love it. I mean, it's such a just great experience. The courses are wonderful. You have to think your way around them. I was lucky enough to play with a few locals at a couple of the courses, and they would say, oh, you want to hit it here. And I'd kind of look at them and say, are you sure? They're like, trust me, this is where you want to go. And sure enough, you hit a shot there and it turns out vastly different than you expected it to.
Yeah. Those are the kind of courses that experience helps more than anything on those kind of places.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's cool. I'd love to do it more.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So why at 18 did you pick up a guitar and not earlier?
Yeah,
right?
I mean the not earlier part is probably just down to playing sports and doing lots of other things. The why then was honestly just down to a few of my friends in high school had started playing guitar. Not very seriously, but they owned guitars, shall I say? And
like we all did when we were in high school. We're gonna be.
I got one.
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, if they could do it, I could probably do it. Why not? And music was always such a huge part of my life. It was always there. never occurred to me that it was something that I could do. And even then it wasn't, I had no career aspirations. It was just, this will be fun. Let's see if I can do this. But I became pretty obsessed, I
Yeah.
guess.
Were you a bit of a natural? Did it come pretty quickly for you, or was it a bit of
Um,
a struggle to learn?
yeah, some of it was fairly natural, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly no whiz kid on guitar.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of friends who are far better at it than I am. But it didn't feel. I mean, I had to work at it, but it didn't feel um, like work, I guess.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was great whenever you learned a few chords and, oh, hey, I could play this song or I could play that song, and you learn a few more chords and, oh, if I twist them around and do this, it's something new,
Yeah.
Um, so it was pretty mind blowing, even though what I was doing was far from mind blowing.
So with your buddies, were you in a band and like right out of high school at 18?
No, that's something that sometimes bums me out. I've never really been in a band, so to speak. I learned how to play, and pretty much from the start was trying to write my own songs and doing my own thing, which obviously has its advantages too. But I do feel like it would have been fun to have had that kind of band experience.
Sure.
True.
Maybe it's down the road. Who knows?
There you go.
Oh, so once you started learning, you just went right into songwriting?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I hate to call what I was doing in those early days songs, because they wouldn't have been anything anyone would have wanted to hear. But like I said, you learn a few things, and then you start playing around with it and think, oh well, if I do this and that, and then I write some words, hey, look at that, I wrote a completely original song.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing. That was at the
like,
time, right?
yeah, I mean, later down the road, you listen to it and you're like, oh no, that's a blatant ripoff of this. But with worse lyrics and no originality at all. But
Right.
at the time, it seemed really cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we call inspiration back in the day, right? I mean,
That's it.
Well, and you got to start somewhere. So have you ever taken any of those old songs and just give them a makeover and
None
save them
of
for
those,
later?
none of those really early ones. And to be truthful,
Okay.
I don't even remember them, which I think is best for everybody.
Okay. So you didn't sit in front of a tape recorder and tape yourself singing them.
No, I mean, there may be some recordings out there that I hope never surface, but thankfully I'm not in possession of them, and I don't think anyone else is either. So
Well, if anybody out there's got some old bootlegs, let us know.
if you can sell them, more power to you. I can't sell the records I got now.
No, I just to listen. I would be interested. But anyways,
I'm curious, were you did you do writing in your youth? Were you a writer at all? Because you write such beautiful stories and with so much description so I was curious if you wrote other than songs,
like short stories or
Yeah.
something in high school.
I didn't really. And in fact, I wasn't really much of a reader at that point either, much to my mom's dismay. She was always wanting me to read, and I was always wanting to be outside doing something else. And it wasn't really until kind of late in college, and even more so after college, when I no longer had to read for school, that I kind of discovered reading for pleasure. And at that point, I just freaked out and was reading everything that I could. It was kind of like, this is great. Why haven't I been doing this for years? Why didn't anybody tell me?
Yeah,
oh,
right.
my mom did.
Mom did over and over again. Yeah, it's crazy what the young brain misses out on.
Or just blocks out, right?
Yeah.
But,
Wait, mom says something in this ear, do the opposite. And how you do it.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's the lesson, kids. Listen to your mom. She's smarter than you are.
Well, that's for sure. Well, family seems to be a big part of your life too, with just the songs that you write, and your dedications within your, within the albums. So was it a tight knit family growing up, and did they have any musical backgrounds and within your family?
Yeah, certainly tight knit, and small. I have an older brother, and that's it. I have an uncle on my dad's side. I have an uncle on my mom's side. but there were no real cousins to speak of, or at least not that we saw very often. So it was a pretty small family. My mom's parents, I knew them a bit when I was growing up, but they died when I was fairly young. My dad's parents, I was very lucky to have them for most of my life, and only lost them both pretty recently in the last handful of years.
Okay.
So definitely a tight knit family, and incredibly supportive family. I can definitely say that I was lucky on that front, that I had very, very supportive parents, very supportive grandparents, very supportive brother. So yeah, it was a pretty good upbringing. I have no complaints on that front.
Sure.
Not
Is
very
that
rock and roll, but I had a good childhood.
is that your photo? Is that your dad's parents?
That's my dad's parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
In fact, I think
dedicated.
yeah, dedicated that record to them, and actually the most recent record was dedicated in their memory, because they had passed on since then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they were a huge part of my life. They both my parents were working whenever we were in school, so they would pick us up from school and help us with our homework and take us fishing, and everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
So
All the stuff grandparents get to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they were great. As far as musical things happening in the family, not really. My dad played drums when he was in college, but I never knew him to play drums. Both of my parents played piano when they were kids, but again, not when we were around. My grandfather, he did have a Hammond organ at his house, which is currently now in my basement, which is pretty cool. So every now and then he would fire that thing up and play, like an old church hymn or an old standard. And that was always fun to see that. But in terms of, people making music in my family, it wasn't really a thing, but we were always listening to it.
Yeah.
It was always playing in the house, always playing in the car, going to concerts whenever we could.
Oh, cool.
Do you remember what your first concert your parents took you to, or?
My first, it depends what you classify as a concert.
Okay.
My first big concert was a double bill with ZZ Top and Leonard Skinner.
Nice.
Nice.
What, in Texas? No way.
hard to believe, right? So that was pretty cool. But I had been seeing, blues gigs in Waco and in Austin for years before that too, and just tiny little clubs.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it was always there.
Yes.
We got to go to Chicago and we're on a radio show with Leonard Skinner's drummer,
Artemis Pyle.
Oh, yeah. Right on.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's hard to, with Leonard Skinner, what year did you see him, and what
what configuration
members were there at the time, but they always put on a good show.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I mean, they were great whenever we saw them. At that point in time, I was in high school, and I was much more excited to see Leonard Skinner. And I knew ZZ Top, but not.
Sure.
I wasn't as obsessed with them. But when those three guys came out on stage and the sound that they put out, I left the show being like, well, damn, those guys are the real deal. I gotta dig back into those records, and it did. And yeah, it was pretty special.
It is cool to go to shows like that and see somebody that you weren't expecting to wow you and go home with like a new favorite, that's fun.
Well, funny you should say that, because that's what happened with you.
Absolutely.
Because we went to Chicago to see David Ford, which we, loved his music. And we had the pleasure of both you and Emily Grove opening up for him, and fell in love with both. So I've been a fan ever since.
Well, thank you very much. That was a lot of fun. And David's still a very close friend. Chat to him all the time. We've done a ton of shows together over the years, and he's a special dude.
He is, and he was. I mean, that night was wonderful.
It was cool venue,
and it was a cool venue. Yeah.
Shuba's,
yeah,
great spot.
Yeah,
I've never been back.
You should be back. We haven't, but we would go back if that bill was still there or the lineup came back.
There you go, Shuba's. You
Yeah,
have your work
I mean,
cut out for you.
even if we can't get David across the pond, just you and Emily would be fine. We're there.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
I'm in.
Yeah.
So, so that's what brought me to this. So I'm sipping whiskey as well. I saw you just grabbed yours.
Oh, yes.
Me
Yeah.
too.
What are you guys? I see a Michter's bottle back there.
That's what I'm sipping tonight. Is that? Come on.
Look at that.
This was not pre-planned at all. That's hilarious.
He's got the bourbon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You are you on the rye there?
Straight
Yes.
rye, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my go-to rye and what I would typically have, but I picked up a bottle of their bourbon the other day just for a change of pace. So that's what I'm having now. Got the t-shirt on too. Don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So all of this is in hope that one day Michter's will just decide to sponsor me and send me free bottles of whiskey.
Exactly.
Well, there you go. Shout
really
out.
what I'm after here.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. We did a show with where we taste tested 4 different whiskeys for the first time and tasted them. That's left over, but I do like theirs. And they did a little history on each one. So
Nice.
if we go back to the
Uncle Nearest. That's a
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So they all have great history,
Yeah.
which is fun to hear, But my go-to is Tullamore.
Okay. All right.
That's my fave.
There you go. Well, my wife's people would be very happy about that.
That's true. And Jameson. I go back and forth between. If I need a bite, I go to Jameson. If I just like a smooth, I'll go to Tullamore.
There you go. If you're into the Irish stuff, I don't know if you'll have a good time finding it or not, but Culloden is one that I've recently come across, and it's one of my favorite whiskeys. Period.
Okay. I have not heard of them.
It's a fairly new distillery, but man, they are really just killing it, making some amazing stuff.
Nice.
Okay. I'll definitely look for them.
Yeah, well worth checking them out if you can get your hands on a bottle.
Well, and a couple of years ago, we were right before the pandemic, we were planning a trip to Ireland.
We were.
And we didn't have, to go around, and then that hit, and it's still on the bucket list. So
There you go. Yeah, you still need to make it happen.
Someday.
well, it's definitely a special place for you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the music brought you there to begin with.
That's right. Yeah, I was doing a songwriter festival in Belfast called the Belfast Nashville Songwriters Festival. Apparently, they are sister cities.
Okay. I was wondering how that
Interesting.
hooked up, but okay.
Yeah. So I was doing this festival, and this was my second year doing it. This was back in 2012, and Claire was volunteering at the festival. She was taking tickets at the door for the show before mine, and we just happened to meet. I got there early, was trying to figure out where I could leave some gear, and happened to meet, and then ran into each other again later on that night at an after party for all the artists and volunteers, and just hit it off. And we were pretty much dating right from that moment, and
Wow.
dated 3.5 years. I was in New York at the time. She was in Belfast.
Oh,
Wow.
Been
Now
married
that's a long distance relationship.
yeah.
3,000 miles. Yeah, it's not easy.
How often are you seeing each other at that point?
At that point, I mean, there would be months in between, 3-4 months. I think 6 months was the longest that it went.
Wow.
We were talking every day, Skype and WhatsApp chats and
Right.
all that stuff that everybody did through the pandemic. We were doing it way before it was hit.
You were doing it before it was cool.
Well, you're doing it on the whatever is the cheapest, because you're going to talk for the longest.
That's it. So, yeah. But yeah, Belfast was already a place that I really enjoyed, but it's a very special place now. We have a lot of family there, and we get back there pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And it's a good part of the world. If you're going to Ireland and you don't go to Belfast, you're making a grave error.
Okay. Good to know.
Awesome.
All the soul is up north.
Yeah. I am curious what the crowd difference when you play in the UK or in Ireland, UK versus the United States. How different are the crowds, or is it a pretty similar experience?
Well, they're bigger for us over there, so that's a plus. It is different. Obviously this is a generalization, so every show is different, but generally speaking, for us anyway, I feel like the crowds over there are don't know if more respectful is the right way to put it, but they're there for the music. It's not just it's a night on the town, and we're gonna drink and chat and all that through the show. They're there because they want to hear the music.
Yeah.
As an artist, that's pretty amazing. You get crowds that are rowdy when you want them to be, but they're also dead silent while you're playing a song, and you can't really ask for much more than that.
Yeah.
No, there's, and I speak for him as well. There's nothing that's worse than being there and people are talking about, whatever their work day behind you. Well, you're trying to listen to the artist. It's, we have turned around and said,
Yeah.
seriously, if you want to talk about your day, go outside, go somewhere else. But we're here to listen to the artist, as a couple have said, turned into just shut the fuck up. I mean, I hate to be whatever, but come on.
To put it succinctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotten to that a time or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time we're pretty, well,
you try to be kind with so you try to be kind. And
so at the Cactus Club, when I saw you, it was a pretty quiet crowd and pretty,
they were great.
They were
fun night.
I was moving a little. I like to move a little bit, so it's hard for me not to tap my toes and move my feet while I listen to great music, and that's what I ended up doing. But not too bad. But
we're not doing our job if you're standing perfectly still.
Right. That's right.
Some of them were, but that's all right. No, that was a cool place. That's my first time ever being there.
Yeah, it was our first time too, but vibey spot. We've only played Milwaukee twice now, but both of the shows. The other one was Shank Hall.
Oh yeah,
nice.
And they're both great. Really seems like a very, very cool artistic city. Actually, since it was Milwaukee that we last saw each other in, I had to my glass of the beer that made your town famous.
And that's a neat glass.
That is.
Oh, that stainless steel. I like that.
That looks like it's been around for a while.
I think it has, but it gets at least one beer in it every night. So
nice.
Okay. And your beer of choice?
Well, these days it varies. I think I mentioned that I'm a type 1 diabetic. Relatively new thing for me. It was my COVID souvenir. I got COVID in March of 2020, right before the world shut down, and a year later, I was diagnosed as type 1 diabetic, and apparently, it was as a result of having COVID. The virus killed the cells in my pancreas that create insulin, so my body no longer makes insulin on its own, making me type 1 diabetic.
Wow.
And prior to that, no issues.
No, nothing. Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's the first I heard of that, but that's something else that
it's one of the many gifts that COVID has given us. All that to say, I now have to, calculate how many carbs are in whatever I eat or drink, and that determines how much insulin I take. And
sure.
So a normal beer, I tend to like IPAs, which are fairly high proof, but also fairly carby, which means they're trickier for a diabetic. So I have found that Lagunitas, which was a brand that I already liked, make a beer called the Daytime IPA, which is kind of a session IPA. It's like 4%, but it's also only 3 carbs, which means very diabetic friendly. So Lagunitas, if you want to sponsor me, that's great too. But what that means is I can have one or even a couple of those, and it's not really going to spike my levels. Whereas if I have a normal beer, I'm probably going to have to take insulin. So it's just easier, and still very tasty.
Right.
It's amazing what you find or adapt to when you have to, and and there's stuff out there that you can still enjoy stuff. Just gotta. It's a change. So
it is, yeah. Like anything, it can be managed if you work at it, and thankfully we're doing a pretty good job of it. So life goes on.
It does. So during the pandemic, now your writing style, since between the 2 albums and you're ready for the horses as well, which I do have. downloaded.
Fair enough.
Completely different. I say, as far as I shouldn't have said completely different, but I mean, it's still you. You could still, your niche on it all. But between the three, it's a little bit different. So how does you feel your writing styles change through the years?
Yeah, I mean, that I would say that's intentional. It's not necessarily a conscious thing, but I think as you evolve as a person and as an artist, you do different things, and I have no interest in, one record sounding very similar to the one that I just made before it.
Yeah.
And all of my favorite artists were like that. You listen to the Beatles and every record is just vastly different,
Right.
or Paul Simon, or Tom Waits, everything it changes from record to record. And so, yeah,
So knowing that, not your fans are not always going to like that.
probably not.
I mean, I've heard it so many times,
No.
they complain if it's like, hey, it sounds like the last one. And then they complain if it's like, it's so different than the last one. I want the, so
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
it can never, yeah. Screw
Tell you
them.
that they're wrong and they need to just listen to whatever I offer them.
Exactly.
No, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, people like what they like, and you're never going to please everyone. I do like to think that there is enough of a common thread there that if you liked what I did before,
Yes,
you can see where it's headed, and there is something that kind of ties them together. But at the same time, it's all right if people don't like everything. That's fine. At the end of the day, I'm writing what I want to hear, and what's in my head and what I feel is true to who I am, and that's going to continue to evolve. And hopefully people dig it, but if they don't, that's all right.
Absolutely.
It is all right. So I guess I was, from the first traveling, the Lonesome Traveler, were there a
Yeah.
lot of songs? I mean, obviously prior to that, like that you had written leading up to the first album, as opposed to not as much time between the albums. Is how much?
Yeah.
How, because there seems to be a lot of influence of. It almost seems like your family. That's why I kind of go back to like there are stories about your family, and I may be completely wrong, but
Sure. No, there are. And it's very much Lonesome Traveler is very much like a folk record.
yes,
It's still a full band album, but it's more acoustic in nature at times. A lot more kind of story songs, almost like little movies,
Mhm.
and very much the traveling folk singer, which was what I was doing at the time. I was driving myself all over the country by myself, playing in these tiny little coffee shops and clubs, which I still do. And it was that life on the road thing, and I think that kind of came out in the songs, and probably a lot of the books that I was reading at the time influenced a lot of those songs, and certainly family. But family has influenced all of my records,
Yeah.
and will continue to do so, I'm sure. And then, yeah, Ready the Horses was a step in a different direction from that. It was still kind of folk leaning at times, but then there were some kind of R&B moments, and leaned a little heavier into kind of my blues influences, and then this last one was pretty much a rock and roll record.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I was going to say we talked about this earlier, and I wanted to take a little bit of umbrage with him because when he said country, I there's country bits, but blues and rock is definitely represented on the latest album too. It's a little bit of a change from the first two in that it's a little more raucous and a little more energy, and
Yeah.
you can tell you were trying to. I mean, I'm assuming we'll get into the story a little bit, but you had some things to say.
Yeah, well, I think I had experienced the rite of passage that many artists have to go through, which was having a record deal that was fucking awful. and
I shouldn't laugh at that.
No, because
uh,
it's unfortunate it happens. You hear about it a lot. So
it's like I say, it's not in any way a unique story. Sadly, a lot of artists deal with it, and the details of my situation were maybe slightly different, but the story's the same. You sign a record deal, they don't give a shit, they don't try, and then you end up fighting with them, which is what I did. We made that record ourselves. I paid for it myself, produced it myself, and then shopped it around to a few labels, and a particular one, which we will not name.
Unless you want us to bash it, we will.
Picked it up. I mean, I'll give you a hint. They were the record label that famously passed on signing the Beatles, which should have been a red flag. I guess we thought that they had maybe learned a thing or two.
Well, you assume there's different people in management 60 years later.
and there were, and they were all children. But they picked up the record and then didn't do anything. And I mean nothing. We couldn't get the A&R, the marketing department to answer emails or phone calls and get a plan in place. You just couldn't get them to do anything. They made loads of pretty ridiculous mistakes, and really just hindered its chances of getting heard. I'm not saying it would have been a, gold record or anything, but it could have done better in different hands.
Yeah, for sure.
And essentially what ended up happening was it was supposed to be released worldwide. It wasn't. They released it in the UK, and only the UK. And we were having to fight with them to try to get it released out to the rest of the world. And they weren't going to do it. And essentially they were just going to shelve the record. And I wasn't pleased about that, because they played no part in the creation of it, not even the artwork. Everything was done before they came on board. And so we had a nice long, like a 1.5 year long battle with them to get the rights back, which we eventually did.
Well, which is great to hear.
Which is great. Yeah. And doesn't happen, there are plenty of artists that don't get that, and so we had to fight for it, but we did get it back for everywhere but the UK.
Okay.
So then we scheduled a release date, which happened to be in the middle of 2020. And so that record never stood much of a chance, as it turns out.
Yeah.
But all that to say, the experiences with that label and during that time definitely influenced a lot of the songs that ended up on Big Talk.
Yeah.
Buckle Under Pressure was a direct response to an email that I'd gotten from the head of A&R saying that they weren't going to give me the rights back to the record, which was something that he had actually promised me in a meeting that I had with them a few weeks before. And so I wrote that song entirely in my head, which is not something that I usually do. I usually have to have a guitar and all of that. I was on a 12-hour drive from Texas back to Nashville right after having gotten that email, and wrote the whole thing in my head. And at one point, when I had stopped for gas, I got my phone out and sang a little voice memo of it, and then got home and tried to figure out how to play what was, in my head.
Oh, what a cool story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now I got to fit the music to the anger of the words I just wrote.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there was a lot of that on this record, a lot of residual frustration from that experience, and then just the landscape that we were all living through at that point in time. There's a lot going on in the world, still is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there was definitely more energy, more anger, more. I didn't set out to write a rock and roll record. It just kind of happened because of what was going on.
Yeah.
Sure.
I love to hear, we talk to a lot of musicians, independent musicians, and I love to hear the stories about how the songs write themselves. You don't write the song. This album needed to be a little more like I said, raucous, just because of the material. So
yeah, it the material dictates what it's going to be. I certainly never set out and say, okay, today I'm going to write a blues song, or today I'm going to write this. It just your experiences lead you in whatever direction, and when the song kind of makes itself known to you, you say, all right, that's what this is, that's what we're dealing with, let's go down that path.
yeah.
So was this the first album you produced yourself?
Ready the Horses would have been the first that I produced myself. Now this one was a little different in that it happened during the pandemic, and so March 2020 happens, the world shuts down,
right,
all tour dates are canceled, and so for the first time since I had been doing this, I was stuck at home. I wasn't going anywhere, I wasn't touring, I wasn't on the road playing shows. And what that meant was that I actually had time to sit down and do kind of detailed demos of all of these songs, and write out guitar hooks and harmony parts and all of this stuff, which had never really happened before. My records before were very, very live in the studio, and very improvised. You get a good group of musicians together, you play through the song, and it's very off the cuff, which I love. And a lot of my favorite records were made that way. And this one, it was still live. The band was still playing live, and there was still plenty of room for improvisation. But there were certain guitar lines or harmony parts or whatever that I had already written out that we thought, we're going to keep that. We like where this is, and so it was a little different going into the studio this time and kind of having a clearer picture of what the finished product was going to look like, while leaving plenty of room to be surprised by the far superior musicians who were also playing on the record.
It seems this last album you had more guests that helped and contributed to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a situation where there was a core band and we were all playing the songs live. And my good friend JP Ruggieri, who played on Ready the Horses, and we've toured together a ton, he was also playing guitar on this one. He actually mixed the record as well, because he's one of those just frustratingly talented individuals. Do everything. He's also a phenomenal songwriter. Has a killer record that he just put out called Gradually Descend into Chaos.
Oh, check that out.
Cool title.
So he was on the record, and we've worked together a ton through the years. But we had Jono Ricks of the Wood Brothers playing drums and keys, because he's one of those frustratingly talented individuals that can do everything really well.
Sounds like if you surround yourself with those kind of people, you end up with a great album.
I mean, that's my philosophy.
Yeah. That's
get lots of people who are better than me, and we'll see what we can create.
Well, kudos to you for not realizing that, but just bring talent around you. Yeah, it helps.
Secret to life: surround yourself with talented people, and you'll do all right.
Right.
And that's why we asked you on here on our show.
You guys. Yeah, we had Ted Pecchio on bass. He also was on an EP that I did a few years ago, where I was covering songs by some of my favorite Texas artists. So we had worked together before, and he's just such a great player and great guy to have in the studio. Really, really fun to be around, and just brings a really relaxed energy into the studio. And then I was lucky enough to have Oliver Wood of the Wood Brothers. He joined on a song. He was very gracious and agreed to sing on a song.
Nice.
And then Ethan Johns, who's best known as a producer, produced Ray LaMontagne and Ryan Adams, Laura Marling, Kings of Leon. He did a Joe Cocker record. I mean, he's done a ton of things. And his dad was Glenn Johns, who is rock and roll royalty. He did the Beatles, the Stones, Faces, the Who, Zeppelin. I mean, he was the guy back in the 60s and 70s.
I recognize the name now that you say it. Yep, I couldn't have said it, but now that you say that, he was floating around.
Ethan is his son, who's a fantastic producer and also a very talented songwriter. A lot of people don't know that he's also a songwriter. And we did a tour together in the UK a handful of years ago, and I was playing the closing track on the record, which is also about my grandparents, called Good Night. I was playing that every night on the road, and he commented on that song a few times saying how much he liked it. And I knew that I wanted to have strings on that song, and I've always loved his string arrangements on records that he's produced. And so asked him if he would write an arrangement, and he very kindly agreed to do it. So yeah, we had him involved as well.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
It really is.
I like that. I like when I can call songs beautiful. There's not, in my opinion, there's not a ton of them, but that is a beautiful song.
Thank you.
And it's a great, to your point about at the end of the evening, and it's a great way to end the album.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's definitely a very sentimental song for me, being about my grandparents, especially since we've since lost both of them.
Yeah.
At 97 and 100.
Oh, come on. That's amazing.
They did pretty well.
So did you ever ask them what's their secret?
To live
whiskey?
Because
they didn't drink, so I'm not sure I'm going to make it that far, but I'm not sure I'm going to make it quite that far. So we'll stay on the path we're on.
All right. Because I know through the years of, if I ever hear someone that's lived that long, if I get to meet them, I always ask them, what's your secret, or what do you contribute to your longevity? And it's always been different. And I've gotten everything from, breakfast every morning was the key to it, to naps, to
cigarettes and whiskey
to sex. They just it's all over. So
just don't die. Funny. I mean, the trick is just don't die.
There you go. There you go.
No, I mean, I mean,
both of them.
Both of my grandparents lived a long time. My wife's grandmother also made it to 100 years old, which is phenomenal. I remember when I was in Austin, I would go to Antone's all the time, which was the famous blues club.
Yeah.
And I used to see Pine Top Perkins, who had a pretty long and amazing career. He played with Muddy Waters and a bunch of other people. Great piano player. He was eating McDonald's and smoking like Marlboro 100s well into his late 90s. So there's many ways to do it.
Yes.
And I think everyone's different. I think you just gotta do whatever makes you happy, and whatever number you end up with, that's good enough.
And that's the only thing common denominator is they're happy.
Yeah. That's it. Do something you love, surround yourself with people you love, and see what happens.
So I didn't see it on the thing. Is your grandpa, is that a nickname, Homer?
That was his name, which I don't think he particularly liked, but his name was Homer Dickenson.
Did he go by something different?
Well, for me, he went by Grandpa. Actually, that's not true. I rarely called him Grandpa.
Oh, it is Homer. I apologize.
I called him Youngster, and anytime I called him on the phone, I would say, "Hey, Youngster," and he'd say, "Hey, old timer, how's it going?"
I love it.
You have a terrific old soul, and my oldest daughter is that way. She's got an old soul. She's 24 now, but she just has that old soul where you enjoy talking with them, and they just get it, and they're not into that bullshit, I guess I could say. Yeah. So I think that's a good thing. And smiling, that's huge to me.
I'm curious, when did you start singing? If you didn't pick up guitar until 18, were you singing like in church choir or anything in your youth, or?
Not really. I mean, I'd sing in the car or whatever, like anyone else would. I didn't really try to sing until I was playing guitar.
Oh, wow.
And when I first started playing guitar, like a lot of people, especially in the South, I started playing in a church band, and they, for some inexplicable reason, like months after I started playing guitar, invited me to join this band, which was ridiculous because I had no business playing in front of people. but I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for it, obviously, because it gave me a chance to do it in front of people and kind of
Oh,
learn how to do it in a very welcoming and non-threatening environment. You know,
Yeah.
nobody was throwing anything when I missed a chord or forgot a word or whatever.
well, you would
Uh,
hope not, but yeah,
I guess it depends on the church, but
right, right. Never say
um,
never.
yeah. But no, I mean, really, the two went hand in hand,
Okay.
playing guitar and learning how to sing.
Interesting. Is it? Was it hard to do? I mean, if so, you're kind of learning to sing at the same time you're learning to play guitar. I mean, that had to make it even more difficult. Like I can't imagine like I would ever be able to learn even to play guitar, but then to have to add the singing on top of it. Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, I was young, so I didn't think too much of it at the time.
Okay.
I'm sure if I was starting now, it'd be a different story. But you know, when you're young, you can figure things out quicker, I think.
You're invincible.
So when my son started, he did the same thing. He got him a guitar and he started playing and he started singing. But they would sing, sorry, Green Day songs, because he's like, because it's easy chords, and then I could sing because it was hard to do both at the same time
Yeah, yeah,
when he started. So
sure. And that is a weird thing, learning how to play guitar and sing at the same time. It doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a deal, but man, it ain't easy till you figure it out.
Yeah, I would have. Feels like you're using two completely different parts of your
right.
brain at the same time, trying to make two things happen. And
Yeah, I mean, I always marvel at drummers being able to do all the different things with different feet and legs. I still couldn't do that, so
yeah,
I'll stick to playing guitar and singing. That seems easier.
do you play?
The feet thing, yeah.
Do you play any other instruments? Do you play the organ? That
I have continuously threatened to learn how to play piano or organ, and I still plan to.
yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet. You know, I've learned a few chords and very basic scales, but I don't play. Not really.
But you can't let that instrument go to waste.
No, that's true. Although it also, I mean, you know, that thing was made in 1936 or 1937,
Awesome.
so
That's gotta be
it's great. It sounds amazing. It's also a fire hazard. Uh, it desperately needs to be completely rewired. So I don't keep it plugged in at the moment, and I don't have the cash to get it done. But one of these days, it will be fully functional without fear of burning the house down.
There you go.
So is that in your bar down in your basement? And is that I wanted to
Sort of, yeah. So when we moved into the house that we're in now, there is a basement that has, I think it's maybe 600 square feet, and it's partially below grade, so you can actually walk out into your backyard from the back, which is nice.
yeah.
And means that you don't have quite as much of an issue with dampness down there as if it was fully below ground. But yeah, there's one room that had already been sort of partitioned off by the people that were here before us that is now the music area, and then the rest of it, which when we moved in was a pretty lifeless and soulless area. You know, it was just kind of gray and there was nothing to it. We decided we were going to turn that into a bar, and that's what we've done. We've collected, you know, vintage and antique bar memorabilia that we found in our travels, and
Nice.
we actually have a bar down there and some nice chairs, and so yeah, that's kind of our favorite place to hang when we're
And you can see your bar in your video for Prefer to Lose.
That's true.
In the music video there.
We filmed Prefer to Lose down there. That was a very early version of the bar. It has grown since then in terms of things on the wall. But yeah, we filmed that video down there. Had some good friends decide to play poker and roll dice and act as our helpers in that video. A guy named Brett Jameson, and then Sarah Van Arsdal, who is the wife of J.P. Ruggieri, our good friend, whose record you need to check out. And she's a great comedian as well. Makes really funny videos and sketches that she puts out on YouTube. So check them out.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, we were lucky to do a video down there. We actually filmed a couple of things down there. We also did. If you look at the Buckle Under Pressure video, there's a certain scenes where Claire is sitting in a chair and watching this old TV. We did that down there as well.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
So yeah, we've made good use of it. Mostly because we had no budget to do these things. And thankfully my wife is much more talented than I'll ever be, and she has figured out how to not only film but edit videos. So she did all of those videos herself. She filmed them, edited them, starred in them.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I see on the latest album that you wrote a song with her. That you credited with her. If you're looking.
That's it.
Now, what is this process with her involved and with her not involved? What's the process?
Yeah, well, I mean, for years, she's been the first set of ears to hear anything, you know. So if I
imagine, yeah,
have a new thing and I play it and she's like, yeah, that's great. I'm like, all right, cool, we're on the right track. Or if she's like, yeah,
then you know.
then you know, okay, maybe scrap this one and start on something else. But yeah, if you're looking, again, was written during the pandemic, was right at the start of it, and we were just working on it together, and it was kind of the first official co-write. Certainly won't be the last.
Right, I wouldn't expect so.
But yeah.
Has she written anything on her own?
Not yet.
Okay.
One day, maybe.
Sure.
I would certainly be more than willing to back her up if she decides to do her own thing. So yeah, you never know.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope she does, you know, because she's obviously helped you with that one, and to continue on would be awesome.
Yeah.
Was she volunteered at that festival back in the day? Is that because she was just into music, or I didn't know if that she volunteered because she was on her own trying to do music?
She was working in the advertising world at that point. She did do some kind of open mic type things that I learned about later on, but she didn't really have musical aspirations at that point. Now, granted, she's from Ireland, so everybody can sing there.
Sure.
And she grew up in a fairly musical household. Not that anyone was doing it professionally, but just, you know, everybody could play guitar or sing a song, which is very cool, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't really until we had been dating for about a year that I realized that she could sing. And so, of course, immediately I tried to get her on stage, and she's been there ever since.
She's a great addition. I mean, you know, from the first time.
So
I mean, just the extra, you know, music that she brings with the tambourine and the other stuff and her backing vocals. Yeah, it was a nice addition to your song.
Thank you. I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, I figured you would.
So you guys got that nice bar in your basement, but you can't use it much because you tour a lot.
We tour as much as we possibly can. I mean,
I was gonna say, how did we get lucky enough to catch you on I don't know how long your break you're on right now, but
I don't know either, which is always scary.
Oh boy.
There's nothing on the calendar right now. Now that
Okay.
will change, but at the moment I have no gigs for the rest of my life.
Oh, geez.
It's a mighty long time.
Yeah. Granted, next week we could be on the road for 2 months. So
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure. So we did hit it at the right time. That's awesome.
But do you really fully enjoy all the travel, or is it the playing part that just keeps you going? You know what I mean? Or do you like being on the road?
We love being on the road. I mean, obviously there's aspects of travel that are a drag, no matter how you price it. Airports and security and all that. No one enjoys that. But we do love being on the road. We love traveling. We love going to different places. We don't even mind the shitty hotels that we tend to end up in. If we could be on the road 200 days a year, we'd do it.
Okay.
We anytime we're back home, if we're here for very long, once you've done a few loads of laundry and sat on your sofa for a few nights, like, all right, it's time to get back out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, am I wrong? I mean, you were the lonesome traveler for a lot of years, but now it makes it more enjoyable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's infinitely more enjoyable now, and we're lucky that we get to do it together. Not a lot of people get to work with their spouse, or much less make music with them and travel with them and see lots of different places. So we're very lucky in that sense.
Absolutely.
So I want to go back to your EP of the influences of your state, and how did you pick the artist or the songs that you wanted to cover for that, which was an EP? Was it like 5 songs, I believe?
There's 5 tunes. Yeah, it wasn't easy. I mean,
You got a lot of choices.
You had right.
Many,
well, let's mention it's under the Texas Sky.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is an EP, and yeah, there's so many influences. How did you pick?
Well, there was one. The kind of main criteria was that I wanted to show that Texas, a lot of people think of Texas like, oh, country music. And sure,
Yep.
there's a lot of country music in Texas, but there's everything. There was rock and roll, there was jazz, there was blues, R&B, everything came out of Texas. I mean, it's a massive state,
Sure.
Absurdly large. So of course there's going to be a lot of different music. And so I wanted to kind of shine a light on all the different kinds of music, or at least some of them. We didn't have a ton of money, like we never do, so we could only do 5 songs, and so I just wanted to make a fairly eclectic group. So we did a Roy Orbison tune. We did a song by Esther Phillips, who is a phenomenal R&B and jazz singer.
Yes.
We did a song by Doug Somm, who was one of the very first to do what now gets called Americana, this kind of melding of blues and folk and country and rock and roll.
Okay.
He was doing it way back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And Tejano music, he was kind of bringing all these things together. Did a Guy Clark song, because Guy Clark is one of the greatest songwriters ever to walk the planet, and he happens to be from Texas, so have to do one of those. And then
that was Dublin. That was the Dublin song.
Dublin Blues, yeah.
Dublin Blues, yep. Which is funny that he had. Maybe that has to do with the sister. No, that's not Dublin. I don't know. The sister,
Belfast and Nashville.
Belfast and Nashville.
No, probably not.
No,
Right.
nothing at all. My mind crossed. Never mind.
And then we did a Willie Nelson tune, although I kind of cheated on that one. But I figured since it's my record, I can make the rules. So
Absolutely.
I did a song that Willie Nelson and Ray Charles, who's not a Texan, but he's Ray Charles, they did together, called 7 Spanish Angels. And
Yes.
We did a version of that. But yeah, I mean, there are so many people that you could choose from. I mean, Don Henley of the Eagles is a Texan. Billy Preston is a Texan.
Sure.
Beyonce is a Texan. Not sure I could pull off a Beyonce song, but there's so many towns. Steve Earle. Pretty sure he's from
Steve
Texas.
Earle, yeah.
Might not be. I don't know.
Okay, you say Beyonce obviously as a joke, but I am curious. Are there any artists like that out there that you've played around with a song that people would be like, "There's no way you're going to do something with that," and kind of changed it for?
I should. I mean, I remember Ben Folds did that, 15 years ago, and it was great. I should work up something like that. I'm probably the closest I've done is covering Heart of Glass by Blondie.
Okay. No
one really expected that.
Yeah.
But it's not quite the same as doing a Beyonce song. So I guess
I think it counts though. That's kind of what I meant. Is I always liked seeing artists that kind of recreate the song to more to their style rather than just covering it as is.
Sure.
Right.
So
and that 100% counts, and I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
Is that anywhere, or you just did it live?
We did it live. I've kicked around recording it, so we might leak that out at some point.
Cool.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun to listen to because I'm with him. That's it. Yeah. You go to shows and then they kick some song they wouldn't expect. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's always fun, and I don't know. I enjoy doing covers that people don't necessarily expect.
Right. So I assume, I mean, the third album just came out on February 3rd or 4th or 5th, sometime around there. Are
That's
you
right.
is there songs that are already on your mind for the fourth album? Are you already looking forward, or are you
Oh yeah,
a little
yeah.
break?
I would say about half, if not a little over half of the next record is written, and then a bunch of other tunes are kind of in varying stages of being written.
Nice.
So yeah, hoping to get back into the studio somewhat soon. A lot of that depends on if I can afford to, but that is the plan, and we're definitely planning on making more music soon.
People need to go out and buy this one so you can make the next
Amen
one.
to
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, if you guys could buy a bunch of copies, or if you're a streamer, if you're into streaming, if you could stream it roughly 2 or 3 billion times, that would be very helpful.
That might make you $20-30. Pay for a half hour at the studio.
If we're lucky, yeah, I might buy another bottle of Michter's if you could do that. We'll see.
Like we said, we just had the guys from Icarus Bell on a rock band down in Texas, and if all you're
They have a
gonna do,
studio.
they do have a studio, and if all you're gonna do is stream, at least share with your friends on social media and tell everybody what you're listening to. If you're too cheap to actually go buy the album, at least least help out that way.
Share it with 1,000 of your closest friends.
Exactly.
That would be great.
But I'm a physical guy, I love to have that physical stuff and albums I love. So
Good man.
I didn't want to carry around the album that night, but
Are
that's on
all,
your website. So
are all 3 of yours available on vinyl?
2 of them are available on vinyl now. Ready the Horses, we are sold out on vinyl.
Okay.
But we do have plenty of vinyl of Lonesome Traveler and Big Talk. So please order.
all you have to do is
my website is always the best place. You can find it on Amazon, but don't be a dick. Don't buy it on Amazon.
yes.
Right. Go straight. Yeah.
Go to the
Go
source.
straight to the source. If
That's
you really
it.
want these people, we've said it before. We really
Keep
want
them
you to
on.
keep making music, and the only way that's going to happen is if we promote the music that you're making. So
Appreciate that.
yeah, and we love talking with guys like you who do it the old school way and are out grinding and
Producing the physical stuff, and
Yeah.
that's the way to go. I know you got to do the streaming, you got to do the digital,
Sure.
you have to. That's the
Yeah.
way of the world nowadays. But
And it's incredibly easy and convenient. I can't knock it. I mean, we stream stuff whenever we're on the road and all that too. Everybody does, but if you can find a way to support them, whether it's buying a physical copy or coming to a concert or whatever, we appreciate that.
when I was
well, you had Big Talk album in front of you. Pull it up again. Let's see it because it's a great cover. You from just talking with you obviously took that picture yourself.
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, okay.
That photo was taken in 1974.
Oh,
I randomly came across that on the internet and
Okay.
And spent months trying to figure out who the photographer was, and would search and search and search and then give up and then try again, and finally figured out that it was a guy named Daniel Serene, who's a French-born photographer, lived in New York for many decades. And he took it in 1974, and I found his website, found that he was still around, emailed him, and very, very graciously he came back and we came to an agreement for me using that on my record.
Nice.
He's a really sweet guy and incredible photographer.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, when I saw that photo, it just knocked me out. It's just so full of attitude,
It
And,
fits well, and
Right, as does the record. Yeah, as is the
Yeah.
record. Full of attitude.
I assumed you had taken it through your, seeing it and saying that's perfect for me. But
Yeah,
it's
right.
even a better story that you reached out and found it from 1979. That's crazy.
Yeah.
74.
74.
74.
That's crazy.
That's
I love it even better.
Right. Yes.
And you'll have t-shirts on your website in the merch up soon.
Yes. Yes, I will put those on the website probably this week.
Awesome. All right. By the time it comes out,
Yeah, dude, by the time this is out, they're already up there. Go check the
There you go.
website.
I will go get myself one.
You're a good man.
Yeah, been waiting. Actually, I think I've got some for my daughters. They have T-shirts as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
The whole family.
Yes. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you, Jarrod.
Likewise. Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh,
Yeah, you bet. Tell them where to find you on all the social media and stuff.
Oh man, we're on all the things. So website jarroddickenson.com. That's JARROD, which most people get wrong. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter /X, whatever you feel like calling it now. We're on all those things. So come find us. You'll have a ball.
absolutely. Well, I'll be checking it again to just see where your tour dates are.
Yeah, and go see him live when he's in your area.
Please
Well,
do.
I can't stress it enough. Just enjoy just your presence on stage. You just have a blast up there. It's just you interact with the crowd, and your songs just sound great live. And I just want to say one thing, that I still, 10 years later, there'll be Saturdays. I'll make some coffee, and not everyone's but I'll sit. I'll just go, this morning is a Jarrod Dickenson morning, and I'll put the Lonesome Traveler on. And that's the way I refer to it as. This is a Jarrod Dickenson morning.
I appreciate that. I'm happy to be there with you when you're having your coffee.
Yes. And
or your whiskey, either one.
well, I'm thinking Big Talk is going to be the whiskey now.
There you go. Yeah. Ease into the day with Lonesome Traveler, and then you can close it out with Big Talk.
Absolutely. Pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Cheers.
I'll be at the next one, whether he invites me or not.
You better be.
I did invite you.
I don't think so. I feel like an idiot cheersing with this, but cheers.
As you should.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Jarrod.
Thanks so much, buddy.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening. The tavern is closed for now, but we'd love to have you back for more fun next time. Seriously, though, get your asses out of here.